We have a first look into the highly anticipated film about the notorious abortionist Kermit Gosnell.
Philadelphia Police Department, we have a search warrant.
What is that smell? Man, you gotta see this. Is this normal?
I don't know, I've never been in an abortion clinic before.
That's part of the newly released trailer from the upcoming film Gosnell, the trial of America's biggest serial killer, starring Dean Cain. It centers around the trial of abortionist Kermit Gosnell, who in 2013 was found guilty on 3 counts of first-degree murder for killing infants after failed abortion procedures. He was also found guilty of involuntary manslaughter of a patient at his facility, for performing abortions past Pennsylvania's state legal limit, and for a range of other health and safety violations. The movie on Gosnell will be released in more than 700 theaters this October 12th. I had the chance recently to speak with one of the film's actors. Here's our interview. AlfonZo Rachel portrays Detective Stark in the upcoming movie Gosnell, America's biggest serial killer. He joins us from Palm Springs, California. AlfonZo, welcome to the show.
Howdy.
Good to see you. First off, you're very open about how you yourself are very pro-life. Can you share what shaped your pro-life views?
Oh my goodness. Well, I got to thank the Lord for that, because this knucklehead wouldn't have got it on his own. Because I used to be, my views on the sanctity of life, or the whole pro-choice narrative and stuff like that. I was all for it. But it was all coming from a place of selfishness. And my wife, actually, who is pro-life, she presented it to me like this. And this is a guy who's pretty conservative. Coming into it, after seeing what liberalism is, but she dropped this one on me. There was a time when Black people, weren't considered human. And she tapped, and at the time I was a little bit more Afrocentric, and she tapped into that, and I was like, wow, wait a minute, how can I be a fair person, and how can I, be selective about such an outrage, and consider that when people that there was a time when people would say that, hey, you're not really human, I can do with your life whatever I want. It's like, wow, I got to apply this here because this person is human, and I'm trying to disqualify this person's personhood. So from there, that kind of got the ball rolling for me to say, I think we need to step up and, speak up for their lives.
That's powerful. And today you're now part of this Gosnell movie. I want to go back to 2013 when abortionist Kermit Gosnell was on trial. When that was going on and the media was barely covering it, what struck you the most? Was Gosnell on your radar back then?
Yeah. I picked up on it despite the media trying to cover it up. I picked up on it, and I was like, look, anybody who's pro-abortion, you have to understand that this is what this leads to. And you can, and y'all can try to say that, hey, you can make abortion as safe and clean and the facilities all clean as much as you want to. The bottom line is that somebody's still gonna die. It ain't gonna be safe for the kid. Okay? And when you see something like this going on, it's like you have to understand this is where this leads.
Wow. Can you give us a preview then of the movie? Can you describe your character, Detective Stark?
Stark is, as far as I know, Stark is not a real person. Anybody else in the movie is based on an actual character. Stark is in there to, obviously, to make the story more interesting. Because like, hey, the story itself is horrifying. It's a true story, and it's enough of a horror for itself, but to make it more interesting, we got to bring in this character Stark to help with the story element I'm playing. But to make Stark, it wasn't really a stretch, because I didn't have to develop a character. I didn't really have to do any sort of contortions, to fit into this character type. It would be me, still being me, but as a police officer. So, if people even like me just a little bit, they might like the Stark character.
And you'll be right there with Dean Cain, who also plays a detective in the film.
Right. And even for Dean Cain, this isn't, he's not really stepping out of too much of how he is, being especially, I believe he stepped into the role being a reserve police officer, I believe.
Right.
So, even, doing what he does, you're going to actually kind of see Dean Cain, not really bending too much of how he is to conform to a character. You're going to see Dean Cain, kind of how he is.
AlfonZo, finally, what do you believe is the takeaway from this film? What do you hope viewers walk away with?
Well, I'd like to see a dent made in the culture in terms of how abortion is and what it is. People, it's either selfish or they just don't know. And hopefully, it's like they don't really think about what it actually is. It's like, because they can't, this person can't speak, or because this person can't vote, or it's dependent on the mother to a degree where they just don't see it as a real human being. They may ignore, the rights that are bestowed upon conception. So, hopefully this movie will kind of tap into that, and a light will go on and say, wait a minute, we are talking about a life here. And, if murder can play out this where it's like a person's, the mother herself, if they can relate to the mom whose life is in danger, maybe they'll see her as a mom. And so why is she a mom? Because she's carrying a life. And hopefully that will tap into something, with this movie.
I know a lot of people are looking forward to it. AlfonZo Rachel, who plays Detective Stark, and Gosnell, America's biggest serial killer, thank you for your time.
Thank you.